يا لغتي عربية حسبي بأنك منطقي وبياني عربية قلبي.
Assalamu alaikum, ladies and gentlemen. We're here at Speaker's Corner this Sunday morning, and I've had some interesting conversations with people from Generation Identity today who have just finished a demonstration behind me at the entrance to Speaker's Corner. Now, who are Generation Identity? They are a bunch of far-right activists. They were founded in France several years ago. It's a pan-European movement. And they campaign on issues like immigration, they're anti-Muslim, they're against Islamicization of Europe. And Tommy Robinson is closely associated with them. And as I say, they're far-right. And today, their leader from Austria was going to give a talk at Speaker's Corner, but he was detained by Her Majesty's police at the border here and is now in custody. He's been flown back to Austria, I think, along with his girlfriend. So his colleagues have come here today protesting, saying they believe in free speech and it's wrong that he should be censored, and fair enough. But I had a question or two. I want to have a one-on-one conversation with some of these activists. So I've never spoken to them before, these people, and asked them just two questions. One, what do they want to do with, if their policies came to power in France or whatever, what would they do with the mosques in Britain, Norway? What would they do with the mosques? Secondly, what would they do with the Muslims? What would they do? And so I got to speak to the leader here. He's the chair of the European Conference. I forget his name. He's from Norway. And I've got an interview coming up, which you'll be able to see. I had with him. Can I have a word?
Yes.
So I'm not with anyone, I'm just asking. Are you with a Generation Identity? I assume you are, if you're handing it out.
Where are you from?
I live up the road. My name is Paul. I'm not the police, I'm not Antifa, I'm not Generation Identity.
You're
I'm
from
just me.
You're Hope Not Hate or something?
No.
Yeah, but...
Can I ask you to ask a question? So I've asked several people.
If
Do
you
you mind
tell
if I
me who
film
you
it?
are.
Can I film it?
I would like to know who you are.
I told you, my name is Paul.
Paul what?
I'm just Williams.
Paul Williams?
Yes, that's my full name. I live in Maida Vale up the road.
Yeah.
And I'm not part of Antifa, I'm not part of your group, I'm not part of Hope Not Hate, I'm not part of any organisation that's to do with this event today. I live up there, I'm an Englishman, this is my country, this is my city. I want to ask you if you don't mind.
Yeah, so could we film you when you film me?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so what are your questions, just so I know?
Well, what I want to know is what, so are you with Generation Identity? You don't know how to answer that question?
Yes, I'm from Generation.
Perfect. So the question is what your organisation, in terms of their policies, wants to do with the Muslims who are British citizens in this country. With their mosques, with their lives. Do you want to get rid of them? Do you want to close them all down? What do you want to do with the Muslims in this country?
So we're going to publish this?
I haven't decided yet. Is there a problem with me filming?
No, it's not a problem.
Okay, so I'm just curious. I don't know. I've Googled this on the internet.
Yeah.
I've asked the question, Generation Identity, Muslims, Generation Identity, Islam, and I've not come up with a clear answer.
Well, I mean,
so I'm just wondering what your actually. Maybe I don't have a policy at all.
No, I mean it's pretty clear on Generation Identity's webpage.
Right.
We want to stop Islamization.
Right.
And
I got that.
Stop mass immigration.
That was very clear.
And want to stop the Great Replacement. So.
Right. Okay.
We don't want the peoples of Europe and the nations of Europe to be replaced with another people and another civilization, another religion.
That I get.
Another culture.
It's very, very clear, that message. I've read it all over the place. But my question was slightly different. So if Muslims are such a threat to the Western identity, the way of life, the morals, the Sharia, and so on. If your policies came to power, hypothetically, what would happen to the Muslims who are here? Would you, for example, let's give a specific point, would all the mosques remain open or would they be closed down?
Well, if they're funded by Saudi Arabia, they should be closed down.
Right, if they're not funded by Saudi Arabia, because most aren't.
Well, I don't know the statistics of which mosques are funded by which foreign state.
But just in principle, I mean, without going into which isn't.
If they preach Sharia, if there's a Salafist mosques,
right,
they should be shut down.
They should be shut down.
If they're extremist mosques, they should be shut down.
Right.
So let's start there. I mean, there's plenty of extremist mosques. So let's start there. And when we
what if it's a Sufi mosque? What if it's a Sufi mosque?
Well, I mean, all these
or Shia mosque.
Well, we have a problem now with radical Islam inside of Europe.
Right.
Let's deal with that first,
Okay.
and then we could look into all your hypothetical questions.
But these hypothetical questions matter because if you're moving in a certain direction, we'd like to know where you want to go.
Well, right now
What is
we're
your
moving-
what is
right
your
now-
end destination? Is your end destination, say, Britain, or which country are you from?
I'm from Norway.
Norway. Oh, from Norway. Is your vision for Norway ultimately your ideal of a Norway free of Muslims
No,
and mosques?
no.
So you want Muslims in Norway?
Generation Identity don't believe in ethnic pure Europe or something like that.
Right.
That's we know that of course there's always been migration.
Right.
There will always be migration. We don't want an ethnically poor Europe at all.
No, but religiously
we don't-
pure.
we-
You're
no,
happy
no,
for Islam
no,
to be.
No, we don't want to be replaced.
No.
European
No, I
people
understand that. I
and
understand
culture is now being replaced,
Yeah.
and want to prevent that, and that's
Right.
our take on it.
So you can offer an assurance to Muslims living in Norway, for example, who are not extremists, who are not funded by Saudi Arabia. They have a home in Norway in perpetuity.
In Norway, we have a problem. The biggest Muslim youth organization is called Islamnet,
Right.
and it's 100% Salafist. They want to stone women.
What's Salafist
and
mean?
They preach the teaching of Muhammad as it was the first few generation after he died.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So the biggest youth Muslim youth organization in Norway
Yeah.
is an extreme organization.
Why is it
that
extreme?
Because they want to stone women and
just
kill
like that?
homosexuals.
Just
They
want
want to stone adulterous women
I see.
and murder gays.
I see.
That is quite extreme
Right.
in European context.
In a European context,
So
it
and
certainly
this is the biggest Muslim youth organization in Norway, and Norway don't really have a problem with radical Islam compared to other European nations. So when you ask me if we want to kick out all Muslims,
Yeah.
no, we want to stop the extremists from making Europe unsafe. Okay,
Right.
thank
So,
you.
all right, what's your name, by the way? Because I gave you my name in full.
Tore Rasmussen. I'm not.
So what was it?
My name is not a secret. Tore Rasmussen. I'm
Right.
speaking at the conference in. The
Oh,
14th
and you're a
of
leader of obviously Generation Identity in Europe.
I'm no.
In Norway.
No.
Are you the leader in Norway then?
No, I'm the chairman of the conference. I'm the conference
What
chairman.
conference is this?
The Generation Identity European Reunion Conference
I see.
in the 14th.
So you're quite a senior figure, obviously, within Generation Identity.
Well, I'm the conference chairman.
Sure, that's quite senior.
Of the conference that we are having in London, the 14th of April.
Right.
And then we will also address Pan-European Brotherhood,
Right.
because now the policies of the EU
Yeah.
is setting European nations up against each other
Right.
with this crazy mass immigration. And yeah.
Okay, but just so you know, I'm a Muslim, by the way.
Yeah.
I'm an Englishman, I'm a Muslim, and I believe the Quran and Prophet Muhammad, I believe in the Sunnah, I believe in the Sahaba. So my interest in this is to find out what you're going to do to my people in this country,
Well,
and
if
Norway.
you are peaceful, you're not going to do
I'm
anything.
peaceful, I'm peaceful.
Yeah.
You're a foreigner in my country, you realise
Yeah,
that, don't you?
I'm a guest here.
I'm an Englishman,
Yeah.
and I welcome you, foreigner, into my country,
Yeah.
and I'm a Muslim, I'm a citizen, and I have a right to be here. And any threat that you pose to me and other Muslims will be resisted. That's a warning to you, my friend.
That sounds
Okay?
like a threat.
Take it as you will.
Interesting.
But
I
we've
hope you
been
post
here.
that. I hope
We've
you
been
post
here.
this.
Yeah, we've been here in the
Okay, perfect.
1930s. The rhetoric that Hitler had towards the Jews. The Jews are an alien minority. They don't fit in. Maybe we should get rid of them. The rhetoric that I hear from Generation is very similar to the rhetoric of National Socialism
Come on, if you're
in
a
Germany.
Muslim, don't talk about anti-Semitism to me. Come on.
I'm talking about Germany,
Come on.
my friend.
Bullshit,
Germany.
come on.
So
Come on,
I'm
don't be a
concerned that
hypocrite.
we've been here
The
before.
most anti-Semitic
And-
attacks in
and-
Europe now come from Muslims.
And in the Second World
living in
War,
Europe. Okay.
Britain saved
Okay.
you, Norwegians, from Nazi Germany. So just remember that, my friend. Goodbye. He was a bit cagey, didn't know who I was. I had another interview with a guy called Luke, an English guy who was a really good guy, I thought. I mean, I didn't have much difficulty with what he said at all. He seemed much more moderate and balanced.
Muslims in Germany was there.
Okay.
Sorry? Muslims in Germany in World War II.
That's fair.
Sorry,
I
you
don't think so.
think that's okay, dude?
We're not threatening anyone.
No. Please state your point.
Your leader was saying, we're just talking about Generation Identity's policy towards Muslims who live in Norway, who live in Britain. Do you want to close down all the mosques? Do you want to have us all
I mean,
expelled?
everyone's got the right to believe what they believe.
Right.
However, we think that there should be more conversation about the subject.
Mm-hmm.
With the Antifa people, I think it's very wrong that they should fight us with violence.
I agree.
All we want to do is open a discussion.
I completely agree. They are violent, and I condemn the violence that comes from Antifa. They're getting away with it because the police, all sorts of reasons. But I was very interested in in generation identity in its end goal? Do you want to see a Europe that is free of
No,
Muslims?
not at all. We
Okay.
just want to make
So what do you
sure-
want to do with the Muslims in Norway and England then?
I mean, they've got every right to stay there.
Right.
If they're legal, they've got every right to stay there.
Which we are. Yeah, that's the whole
Then
point.
that's fine.
So what are you about then? What's
what I
your...
want to do is I want us to
Oh, sorry.
I want us to assimilate into the culture. I think it's if you want to
assimilate.
bring your culture over to here and
Right.
enforce it upon us, I think that's wrong.
What about religious freedom to, you see, but Muslims, for example, don't drink alcohol as a matter of principle.
Yeah.
So should we to assimilate drink in pubs? Should we be obliged to
No,
drink
I think
alcohol?
it's more an adoption of our values. I mean,
Can you give an example? Just one example of how the Muslim values don't fit in with English values.
okay, so let's look at their book, right? The Quran.
Okay.
Within it, Muhammad, their prophet, marries a 6-year-old girl,
In the Quran?
consummates the marriage at 9.
Doesn't mention that in the Quran. Have you read the Quran?
I've listened to the Quran. However, it's really hard to find an accurate version of the Quran.
No. Well, the Quran's in the Quran. The original Quran is in Arabic. Any translation is seen as not the Quran. But the Quran doesn't even mention Aisha, is the lady you're referring to.
Or would that be the surah?
Well, that'd be in the Hadith. So, Aisha was a wife of Muhammad. He consummated the marriage with Aisha when she was a woman. Although the marriage betrothal took place before that. But this was the norm in traditional societies, even in England and America, until very recently. Mary in the Bible, for example, is commonly thought to be about 12 when she married Joseph. So Muslims are not advocating what in Britain would be underage marriage, because we're obliged by the Sharia to obey the law.
In that case, why is there, for example, 1,500 cases of underage rape in Rotherham? If you look at Telford, there may be even more, and
Right.
the police choose to ignore it because they're afraid to appear.
You see, this has nothing to do with Islam. Rape in Islam is actually a capital offence. It's condemned. Yes.
Is that why in their book there's no such thing as the word rape?
No, there is. The Sharia. No, but perhaps you need to get up to speed on this. In Sharia law, rape is a capital crime.
Well, let's put it this way: it's not. Okay, you've called me out.
I have,
Meant to that.
because unfortunately your knowledge of Islam is perhaps not as deep as it might be.
Okay.
The Sharia
I appreciate
is.
that you use that terminology rather than just.
Yes, I know,
on me.
and I appreciate that you also appreciate that you. Whatever. No, my point is that the Sharia is concerned with actions, and these are public actions, and they have to be witnessed by, in the case of adultery or fornication or homosexual acts, by 4 upstanding witnesses who actually witness the act of penetration. It's called liwat in Arabic. It means sodomy. Now, the chances of anyone witnessing, I mean, you'd have to be having sex in public with 4 witnesses. I mean, you shouldn't be doing that in the first place. All right. In Islam, there's a strong differentiation made between public acts and the private realm. What you do in your private realm is your own business, but in public you must obey the law, and the law says you mustn't have a liwat sodomy that is seen by the people in public, and that is punishable. There is no agreed upon punishment in the Sharia for homosexual acts. It can go anything from a rebuke, a verbal rebuke by the judge, to the death penalty. 3 of the 4 schools say the death penalty. The other one, the first one, the Hanafi school, say whatever.
That's quite an interesting point.
Yeah.
How could you explain for example, homosexuals being thrown off roofs in Saudi Arabia? Then?
I'm not sure they are. I'm not sure they are thrown off roofs in Saudi Arabia. I think you probably mean ISIS territory in Iraq and so on.
Islamic State.
Yeah, Islamic State are not following Islam in many respects.
Okay.
They're following a very brutal, extremist spin. An analogy would be the Ku Klux Klan, who do call themselves Christian. And they hold up the Bible. That's why they burn crosses, the Christian cross, because they want others to see that they are Christian. Would you say the KKK were a pretty moderate mainstream interpretation of Christianity?
Well, I'd say when the KKK first started out, they were not a racist group. If you were
No, I'm talking about today. I'm not talking about the 19th century. Today,
what you mean, like the 300 people that are actually KKK?
yeah, but the KKK obviously have a particular views on race and black people. Need I say what they are? If you know anything about it, they're an extremist, violent group. Do they represent Christianity? But they call themselves Christian, so they must be. That's kind of the logic of that point. So ISIS are very extreme, very lacking in mercy, which is a key component of the Sharia.
Now, don't get me wrong. I agree. I agree with you that there are extremist groups in all sects.
Yeah,
You know.
and religions.
I do think that maybe we need to have a bigger discussion about it. That's what today's
We
about.
are having a
That's what
discussion.
today's about. I think we need to look at numbers. We need to acknowledge that while they might not be horrible people, I don't agree that all of them are horrible people I work with.
Do you know any Muslims? You got any Muslim friends?
I do, yeah. I went
You
to
got Muslim
school-
friends?
Only two in my school where I went to. but I work with Muslims.
Right, and are they people you want to? Are they horrible people? Are they bad people?
No, not at all.
You're happy
That's
for them
what-
to work
that's
with
what
them?
I'm saying.
Right.
That's what I'm saying. But I
Right.
think we need to have a more open discussion because there are people
About what particularly though? Because you got Muslim friends, I got Muslim friends. They're cool. What's the problem? Why is there all this fuss about
the problem
Muslims?
is for example, the rape culture. There was the 14-year-old girl, for example.
Right.
She got raped by some Muslim men, right?
Yeah.
She gets in a cab and she asks them for help. That driver was Muslim and he decided to rape her as well. You know.
When you say he was Muslim, was he practicing Islam?
Well, I couldn't know unless I was him.
No, I'm just saying. You see, it's good to know what you mean when you say this guy was a Muslim. You know, Jimmy Savile, for example. People don't know this, but he was a Roman Catholic. Not any old Roman Catholic. He was knighted by the Pope at that time and was given a papal knighthood. Just Google it on Wikipedia. This guy was a seriously senior figure in the Roman Catholic Church. He was a pope or a priest or anything. He was honoured and revered and given a papal knighthood. So am I right in saying that when he raped a Christian, a Catholic, raped these children, a Catholic abused... If I was to use that rhetoric, how would that sound to your ears? That would sound a bit odd, wouldn't it? A Catholic did, because he was a Catholic.
Yeah.
He was Sir Jimmy Savile.
No, I
yeah?
can agree.
With a papal knight. But you choose to use the word Muslim when it... You see,
Which
these...
is exactly the same as if you were to use.
Yeah, but people, you see, people use this language selectively. They don't hold on to fair play here. They don't say, well, the Catholic Christian did this, but they will say the Muslim did this, as if the religion legitimizes rape. But you won't do that with people like Jimmy Savile, who were very senior, honoured Catholic figures, acknowledged by the Pope himself being a good Catholic Christian. So I'm saying there's selective double standards here, that you associate the religion with one act, but another religion you don't. But why? Both religions condemn rape. So why do you talk about Muslims? See, these guys in Rotherham, presumably they come from a particular ethnic background. They're what, Pakistanis?
I imagine.
Bangladesh, yeah. So the Muslim, there are 1.9 billion Muslims on Earth.
I believe
Trust
it's
me,
1.6.
it's 1.6, 1.9.
Does that include conversion or?
Yeah, it includes everyone.
Oh,
yeah.
okay, all right.
We can quibble over the exact, but well over 1 billion Muslims on Earth. Take my word for it, very few are Pakistanis, and percentage-wise, very few are Arabs. The biggest Muslim country on Earth is Indonesia. So we're dealing here with a particular ethnic cultural problem, which is a serious problem, but nothing to do with the religion, because the religion condemns. If they did that in Saudi Arabia, they would be executed.
Well, that's the problem. I mean, look, you've got the Quran, which from what I can see, what you're saying is relatively peaceful. However, it's afterwards this surah, where in which Muhammad he went from a peaceful prophet into a warlord. For example, he took over the entire Mediterranean, which is quite a feat, I must say.
I'm not sure he took over the Mediterranean. I think he died.
No, he died after, but they carried on in his word.
Oh, right, okay.
Okay, and it wasn't actually written by Muhammad.
What?
That's the
The
problem.
Quran?
The Quran was not.
No, but Muslims believe it was a revelation from God. He denied having written anything to do with it.
No, but that's the thing. If he was the one speaking the words straight from God or Allah or whichever you choose to identify.
It means the same thing. Allah is the Arabic word for
No,
God.
I know that. But if you were to say that Muhammad is the only one that knows this word, so why are other people now writing his book saying as if they've just heard his words and they're piecing all this together? I mean,
what do you mean? So
It's not a straightforward book.
No, but it's a single.
You have to read it in such a certain way. You can almost interpret it in any way, shape, or form.
The interpretation is a key point, and I agree with you, and that's why we have scholars, the ulama, who interpret, who are trained in Arabic, who know the sources, the Sirah Hadith, who are good character, who can responsibly interpret all of everything in context. So we don't take isolated verses. We understand what the Hadith say, the Sirah says, what the companions have also said of the Prophet. So there's a whole discipline, an academic discipline, a science almost. But coming back to Muhammad. In the East, in the Byzantine, the Christian Byzantine world there, which the Muslims successfully defeated, the common man, the man and the woman, the Christian there, were oppressed by the Christian rulers. Now, how does this make any sense? Because the Byzantiums followed a particular creed, which is now the Orthodox creed, if you like, and they suppressed the heretics, which is the majority population, who didn't believe that. And if you look at the accounts at the time, when the Muslims went into Jerusalem, when they went into Syria, the Levant, they were a force of liberation, because the Sharia says that other people, Christians, people of the book, can worship freely. But these Christians, who were the wrong sort of Christians, the heretics under the Byzantine Empire, they were like the Romans, oppressed the general population.
Yeah.
So actually, Islam liberated the Christians there to freely worship without any persecution. And the same in Spain. The Jews there, just before the Islamic armies went in, the Jews were about to be forced to convert to Christianity on the pain of death. When the Muslims went in, they basically saved Judaism. They allowed the Jews to worship freely. Now, that's not because they were nice guys. That's because the Sharia teaches that. So actually, I think the Islamic conquest of the Middle East was a force for good because it brought liberation, it brought justice, God's justice to bear.
Well, to a certain extent. I mean, how would you explain dhimmis then, for example? Anyone that was a Jewish or Catholic faith?
Do you know what dhimmi means in English? Do you know what the term means?
No.
The Arabic term. It means a protected person. Okay. So they had their rights, their property, their liberty to worship as they please protected. Basically in exchange for paying a tax.
Yes, it's
now,
substantial tax as far as
well, no, it's actually not. It was equivalent pretty much to what they were already paying, or even less. In Egypt, it was less, for example. So but in lieu of that tax, they have certain privileges that Muslims don't have. For example, they don't fight. They're not required to fight on behalf of that country because they're not Muslims. They're Christians and so on. But they have their rights and their livelihood and their freedom guaranteed. That's part of the Sharia. Now, we all have to pay taxes. We may not like it. If you live in a state under protection of Islamic State, you have to pay taxes. I live in Britain, I have to pay taxes. I mean, there's no point in me crying about it. It's just we have to pay taxes.
I agree. I do pay taxes.
But it means protected, a protected group.
Well, this has been a really good conversation.
What's your name, by the way?
I'm Luke.
I'm Paul.
It's nice
to meet you. You're much more good to talk. The previous guy I was speaking to was anyway, he's Norwegian, so who knows what's going on.
Well, this is the problem. I think that we should be more open rather than just hating each other.
Good mate. Had another interview with someone else, an English guy who was very hostile to Islam indeed.
We can deal with them in a little while, Vinny. Calm down, bro.
Deal with them? What do you mean deal with them?
This guy.
What do you mean deal with them?
What, do you think we don't know there's loads of them up there, my friend? Right, I'm here to defend free speech, nothing else.
Okay, well,
Right?
I'm not here to offend anyone. I'm here for freedom of speech. So
I spoke to
Yeah.
Luke here, so maybe we're going to say he is the most civilized. I'm not being civilized, nice guy. He's not an extremist in my view.
Okay.
But I'm not saying that's true of anyone else here. But he had a good conversation about Islam. He's got Muslim friends. He doesn't want to get rid of Muslims in this
Well,
country.
my closest friend is Turkish over here, but he's
Yeah.
not a believer. So
No, I'm talking about Muslims who do believe.
who
Obviously.
do believe the following. See, for some of us, there are very alarming issues.
Such as.
Against Muslims, mate.
No, it's not against
Islam.
Muslims, but we do have differences
Get
in.
it right.
Yeah, we do
You said you're
have.
against the Islamicization of Europe. That suggests Muslims are involved pretty much.
No, not all Muslims.
So would you mind? I'm just
Yeah.
Certain sects.
Let me carefully
Can I
chat
just
about this.
one at a time?
Well, ultimately, it's a Christian country. Now, I consider myself an anti-theist, whether you agree with that or not.
So you're against the values that country is
I
based
find
on, which is a
religion quite
Christian.
dangerous altogether.
So why are you in this country at all then? You should go and live in an atheist country like North Korea,
There's
perhaps.
no such thing as an atheist country.
North Korea is explicitly China is explicitly
There's
atheist.
no such thing because religion is only about a couple thousand years old, the ones that we follow. So before that, this land still existed. I'm afraid it was man-made. But I don't want to offend you or anyone else.
No, you're not offending
I was
me.
born here. I was
I'm
born in
impervious to being
Leytonstone.
offended, believe me.
My birth certificate,
Yeah.
tells me where I'm from.
Yeah.
So my religion, if you can stamp something on my back any day you like, it's not going to.
So what's your problem with Muslims then?
I would say I have a problem with Muslims. I have a problem with differences in religion. So, for instance,
For example?
if you've got something that says you can do something good and something do something bad,
Yeah.
there's a mix-up here. So if you tell me I have to speak Arabic to understand it,
Right.
that's basically saying God only trusts people that speak Arabic.
No, I'm not so. Okay, I mean, Orthodox Jews would say the same about the Torah.
Absolutely.
You've got to be able to speak Hebrew.
And I would like
but-
for everyone to drop it. That's why.
Well, but this, okay. Well, there's a separate issue. What I'm interested in today is though what your problem with Muslims is in Britain
I think the word
as a
problem-
political and
my
social
problem
reality.
is with a religion that once you look into,
Yeah.
it gives permission for things we don't give permission for.
Such as
Churchill understood it.
Yeah. I mean,
Jolly good.
I'm not going to go into it because
You're not going to give an example at all.
Because if I do that,
Yeah.
as you know, if you draw a certain picture or do certain things in this country, you'll be bashed half to death. So let's not pretend that I can just freely. You and I both know that. So
No, I'm talking about Islam itself. I'm talking about anything.
Yes, I know.
What is it
If
about Islam,
if I
Muslims
offend
in this
Islam,
country?
I
Can you?
say.
You can't give an example.
Because if Islam, I have to be above the mainstream media because what will happen? They will come out and they will attack me.
But Luke gave examples.
Well, maybe he got more specific.
No, he said Islam kills gays. which is not true. Which is
I'll
not
put it to
true.
you. I'll
Which
give
is
you
not
one-
true. But that's what he
Yes,
says.
it is. Yes, it is.
Oh, it is true.
It is.
Can you explain to me how
Yes, I
that's
have.
true?
I've watched videos of people being thrown off buildings. So to say it's
Right.
not true is narcissistic and evil.
Right. Can I, as a Muslim, give a different explanation?
Okay.
Right. The Sharia, as it's understood by the four main schools of Islam, Sunni Islam, it's the same in Shia Islam as well, is to do with actions, and those that occur in public. And these are criminalized when they occur in public. For example, adulterous behavior, sodomy, liwat, as it's called in Arabic, if it occurs in
But they
public...
shouldn't be illegal.
Hang on a second. Let me explain. And there are 4 witnesses to the act, which is a very specific act to do with actual penetration. Then 3 of the 4 schools say there can be the death penalty. One of them, the earliest one, the Hanafi madhab,
Do you not agree
doesn't
that
say
shouldn't
that.
exist at all?
Hang on a second. So it's not that Islam is against gays. Islam doesn't recognize this very recent modern Western identity politics called homosexuals or gays. It's concerned with the behavior of people in the public realm.
That's not their business.
Now,
I'm sorry,
hang on a
that's
second.
not
Let me just finish. In Sharia, then, in the private domain, there's strict demarcation is made between the private domain, that's between you and God. But in the public domain, certain behaviors are
That
not
is the problem.
allowed.
Can I come in, please?
Well, let me just finish. So, it's not too much. No, there's nothing wrong with that view. It's a deterrent against
is.
committing acts in public, and there's nothing incompatible with British law. British law also,
Yes, there is.
British law also says you cannot commit certain acts in public, doesn't it? It criminalises that
Different
behaviour.
laws. Okay.
No, it's the same. It's the
Can
same
I just
thing.
sum this up before we finish up?
Okay. What's your name, by the way?
Vinny.
Vinny. I'm Paul.
Hello, Paul. I'll sum this up with there is nothing that ISIS are doing that they don't have written permission for.
There is.
No, there isn't.
Can you give me?
Okay, from the hadiths.
Let me give an example. Let me give an example. Give an example.
As long as you're a man, of course.
No, I'm. What else
No,
could
I
I
mean,
do?
as long as you're a man, to do with that particular religion,
Okay.
there's no crime you can't commit as long as it's against certain people.
Not true.
Whether it's rape, it's not true. You're saying that there's not hundreds of millions of people that are suffering at the hands of being an apostate in the East right now. You're undermining their pain. Is that what you're doing?
No, I'm not. Let me explain.
You are.
What
What you're saying now is sadomasochistic
Let me speak. Let
and
me speak.
disgusting.
Let me speak. You're very angry. I can see you're quite worked up and angry.
Because,
and I'm not saying anything to make you angry.
I
I'm
think
trying
what
to
you're
defend.
saying- No, but hang on. Let me
haven't
speak
said.
because you're speaking over me, and if you won't let me speak, I'll just walk away. Okay? Now, you're suggesting there's no problem between the British government and law. Now, do you understand the
I didn't say
difference?
that. I didn't
No,
say that.
the British government between religious law.
No, I didn't
Okay?
say that.
You're saying
There is an
you're
issue.
saying it's
There is
compatible
an
with
issue.
British law.
No, I'm saying on the issue of public sexual acts committed in public.
Well, that's not their
the-
business.
The British.
It's none
Well,
of their business.
then you need to campaign, become an MP, and change the law because
can't.
Christian law in this country says you cannot commit acts like that in
Hang on,
public.
hang on.
And any civilized society, even China, America, France, and Britain, say all this behaviour is not allowed in public.
That was completely done under the constructs of the law and by the law.
But nothing to do with
You're
Sharia, though.
fine.
Sharia
Let-
condemns rape and child molestation.
No, it doesn't. Let me come
It does,
in here.
actually.
No, it doesn't.
It does.
Okay, what you're saying is rubbish.
Why
We
is
do
it
not
rubbish?
have written permission to marry a 6-year-old. What you're saying is an absolute lie. It's
Why is it a lie?
narcissistic.
Why is it a lie?
So you're suggesting...
What's a
that
lie?
the
What have I
prophet-
just said that's a lie?
So the prophet that you believe in,
Yeah.
we should all be allowed to marry 6-year-olds. Is
No,
that what you're saying?
no, I'm not saying
So
that.
already we're at a crossroads. Should women get half an inheritance? Yes or no?
Yes.
I think we're done here.
Why?
I think we're done here.
Why?
If you have just publicly said
Yes.
in front of these people that
That's what the
women-
Quran says.
Law, reason.
No.
You're following. Who do you follow as a
Right,
Muslim?
no.
Theresa May or Allah?
God.
Problem solved.
That's what Christians say. Christians also say God. Christians say, we're not an atheist like you. You're an atheist who doesn't follow, you follow your desires,
You
you
follow
follow
something.
your mind, you
You're
do not follow God.
anti-scientific. You're anti-scientific.
No.
I do.
Okay. Nice to see you, Vince. We're not going to agree. Clearly, you're getting quite angry. Well, we'll leave it
He
at that.
says. He says.
Yeah,
Right,
and you won't let me speak because I can. That there are good explanations which
there aren't.
a reasonable person would, I think, believe and
Okay,
accept.
you just
but you
excuse-
won't let me speak.
You just excuse women for getting half an inheritance.
But do you know why?
You are a
Do you know why?
sadomasochist. Thank you very much.
But
Sadomasochist.
why do you believe women should have half the rights in that?
That's not what I believe. It's what the Quran says. But I accept that. Do you want to hear my explanation?
Oh, yeah, but there doesn't need to be an explanation.
But there is an explanation.
But it's just accident.
Let me do listen if I was to explain. Thank you. Will you listen as well?
Of his religion, an explanation.
Well-
It doesn't justify the innate misogyny of his religion.
It's not
He's just
misogyny.
allowed to do it.
It's not misogyny.
The Latin explanation is to lay out on a plane to make clear. So let's hear him lay out
Right.
the explanation.
I've got,
That's the innate misogyny of his religion.
no, I'm not. Let me explain. In the Quran, men and women, although they're of equal value before God, have different roles in the family and in society. The man is the head of the family. He normally will go out to earn earn a living, earn a wage to support the wife and the children. Also, the man is financially responsible for looking after any relatives, any other relatives, elderly, and so on. The woman is not responsible for supporting anyone else. She has no financial obligations. Any wealth that she has, the woman has, is legally independent of the man, and she keeps it by right under Sharia. So I'm finished. So the unequal distribution of inheritance reflects the different financial commitments and responsibilities that the man and the woman have under Sharia. The man has no choice but to look after his elderly and pay for them, pay for his relatives, pay for his wife, pay for the children. The wife has no obligations under Sharia to support anyone else but her own, what she wants to do. Now, the Quran reflects that financial and those arrangements. It's nothing to do with misogyny, it's to do with the different roles that well, you did 5 seconds ago. You were agreeing with this gentleman. So I'm explaining now why.
So it's not a problem.
Oh, well, you're suddenly converted to patriarchy now.
No, I've always been.
Well, jolly good. So it's to do with these different responsibilities in society that explain these different... now, some people like him, who I happen to know from Speaker's Corner, won't listen to that because he'll just mock and shout me down. But I appreciate and thank you for listening, at least, to this.
No, absolutely. No, I'm a person of faith, so I'm happy to listen to other people.
Christian?
Yeah.
Nice to meet you, sir.
That's my favourite photo.
Hi, Luke.
Alright, mate, how's it going?
Okay.
Alright, I don't agree with these guys.
I'm surprised.
They want to do the live one.
Well, I don't...
We haven't made it. I don't want to do the next one.
And you're letting them wear masks!
Stand away from the flare!
Why are you going to arrest a petrol generator? Why are you being arrested for?
Sorry. So it seemed to be a kind of spectrum of views, but I've got at least 3, maybe 4 interviews filmed on my trusty iPhone 10, which I'm not actually employed by Apple, but I do recommend it. It's excellent. And the Antifa, they're the anti-fascists, they came along. I think they've probably all gone now. Antifa like to attack far-right people, literally, physically attack them. They've now gone. There's only a handful of them, causing a lot of noise, but the police kept them all apart. They were being very circumspect. They kept the fascists, if you like, separate from the anti-fascists. But I managed to get in there and interview 3 or 4 of them, and just to get a flavour of what kind of threat these people pose to us here in Britain. In the first interview I did with the Norwegian leader of them, I didn't say I was a Muslim until the very end, and that was quite a shock to him when I mentioned I was a Muslim, and that we would be watching him, and that we would not be a pushover if ever he or his like came to power, that we would resist, basically. So he didn't like that and got all alarmist. So these videos will be up online soon, inshallah. So enjoy.
I and most of the other people here, and a lot of the people here who are speaking today, were originally going to spend this weekend in Milton Keynes, where we are attending a conference set up by Young Independents, which is the youth wing of the United Kingdom Independence Party. As I'm sure you all know, they'd arranged for Martin Sellner, an Austrian activist, to fly over and deliver a speech. On arriving in the UK, Martin and another activist, the American Brittany Pettibone, were detained and held for a speech they'd not yet given and refused entry to the United Kingdom. A lot of you might not really know about what Martin does and who he's with. Martin's a member of Generation Identity, which is a patriotic European movement that talks about Islamization and the Great Replacement. Now, we're all here today in London, and everyone who's lived here, who's worked here, who's spent a significant amount of time here is aware of these issues and privately acknowledges them. And yet, for many years now, there's been total silence from the media and especially from politicians on these vital issues. We are determined that Martin's voice and the voice of generation identity will not be silenced in the same way. This is actually the second time that Martin has had to cancel a conference to the same group.
Hello there. Got not many of them.
Yeah, workers united, is it? Get a job. Get a job. We're not here for violence. We're here to record these people. You're the terrorists.
Why don't you guys have some tea and talk to each other?
What a good idea.
Proper way, instead of all this confrontation stuff.
You're a terrorist, mate.
Nice idea.
And stop calling each other names. What it is, same country. Chill out.
Good man. Good man.
Speak to each other.
So, are you hosting tea, Paul? Oh, I am, yes. A very English
Behind
tradition.
your mask.
Yes. Unfortunately, they probably throw the pepper at each other. I've done too long. Oh, here we go. Behind two people.
Come on.
Is that all really? He just punched someone, man.
Show your face! Show your face! I'm not wearing a mask. I'm not wearing a mask. Where's my mask? Where's my mask?
Where's your daddy gone?
Where's your daddy gone? Where's your daddy gone? What are you going to do? What are you going to do right here?
Well, the real Martin Selner, please stand up.
Triggered. Triggered, mate. You're the one shouting and screaming. Triggered. See you later, boys. All right, I'm more concerned about that at the moment. That's where they're putting your sections across there for us, just as a presence to keep them separated at the moment. Don't worry too much about that. I've got my
Ultimately, free speech are an immortal spirit inside the heart of every patriot. Thank you.
Hi, Paul.
Nice. So you're supporting these people, are you? Tan?
So what free speech?
Yeah, very good.
come out!
يا لغتي عربية حسبي بأنك منطقي وبياني عربية قلبي